And a very good evening and welcome to our third segment of Ask Me Anything. I'm Trevor Tan, your host for tonight's topic, why do I need another health insurance policy? All right, let's get going. So before we jump in, just a quick disclaimer. This webinar is solely for the purpose of education. So we are hoping to provide you with as much information as possible in terms of financial literacy. And this is not for the purpose of product evaluation and selection. So if there's any mention of particular companies or reference of any products, it is strictly for purpose of illustration and application, all right? So if you do need financial advice, we ask that you consult a licensed financial advisor rep before you make any decision in terms of buying any form of insurance products. All right, let's move on. So what we're going to do is, as you can see, there are some questions that you may already have. I'm going to take about 10 minutes to give you a quick overview of health insurance. Yeah, and then we will proceed to the questions that some people have already posted. And we'll go into that segment, and that should take us to about 8:25, where I will answer the last question, and then we will wrap up this evening's segment. So first things first, in Singapore, we have three broad categories of insurance. Mainly, the first category, life insurance, which we dealt with some 2 weeks ago. So those are, I think a lot of you are familiar with, like term life, whole life, endowment, investment-linked products. This evening, we're going to look at health insurance, and many of these benefits can either be on a standalone basis or they can be added as a rider. You know, so a rider is like your accessory for your iPhone 12, you know. So they come in the form of hospitalization and surgical benefits, maybe a hospital income rider or plan. Then you have your critical illness, your long-term care policies, disability income, and then personal accident. We won't be touching very much on personal accident this evening. Lastly, we have general insurance, which is the insurance covering your car, fire insurance on your house, your maid insurance. All these are the general insurance, yeah, which basically IFL doesn't go into. So let's look at the thing that is probably on top of everybody's mind at this point, because recently there was an announcement that there will be a revision in the Medishield Life premiums, correct? Yeah. So Medishield Life was launched on the 1st of November 2015, and this was to replace Medishield as our national health insurance plan. Yeah. So this basically covers all your basic hospitalization expenses. Okay. And as the name implies, now it provides a lifetime coverage. There is no expiry date. Previously, Medishield covers you only up to age 92. So when you turn 93, if you are still around, then you are on your own. All right. So the great thing that's happened is that now Medishield covers you up to 120 if you can live up to 120. All right. So more important, I want to stress is that Medishield Life covers all pre-existing conditions, and that's really a plus point. Even cancer, dialysis patients who are now fully covered. All right, and this is only possible because this is a universal plan covering all Singaporeans and PR. Yeah. So the thing is that there's no lifetime limit now compared to 300,000 previously, but there is still an annual limit of 100,000. All right. What Medishield Life is designed to do, as I mentioned on the onset, is a basic national healthcare hospitalization plan. Correct. So it sufficiently covers you for subsidized healthcare in public hospitals. Okay, government restructured hospitals in C class and B2. So if you do decide to go to the non-subsidized ward like A class or private hospitals, then this will not be adequate. All right, this will not be adequate. So that's why you probably have to consider the next item that we have on the slides. Okay, So this is something that everybody probably also asks, you know, what's integrated shield? Do I need it? So if you think of Medishield Life as a root beer, that integrated shield is like the ice cream in your root beer float. Right, so as you can see on the slides, so Medishield Life sits at the bottom of the integrated shield. It forms the foundation. Yeah, so for those of us who wants to choose our doctors, for example, let's say even if I go to SGH or NUH, I want a particular doctor who is perhaps a bit more famous and recommended by my friends, then I would need to at least opt for B1 wards. Okay, and B1 wards, the subsidies is a lot lesser. There's only a 20% subsidies for B1 wards compared to 80% subsidies for your C-class wards. All right, and then for those of us who want to go for private healthcare, then you have no choice but to look at the integrated shield plans, which in short we call IP. All right, so whatever extra premium that you pay to this private insurer, a part of it actually goes back to CPF board to cover the basic Medishield Life. All right, and then the insurer that you go to, there are 6 insurers plus 1 healthcare company. The premiums that they keep will cover you for the additional benefits that they provide. All right, so don't go away with the mistaken understanding that oh yeah, I got integrated shield, I don't need my Medishield. No, it is embedded in the IP plan already. Okay. So next part that we would probably have a lot of question on will be critical illness coverage. And CI in short is basically a very specific benefit. It pays you a lump sum upon diagnosis of a particular illness or disease that is covered under the policy contract. So it has to be very specific. The terms and conditions have to be met. Yeah. So CI, think of CI not so much as to cover hospital expenses, but more to cover a loss of income should you be unable to work or you want to stop work, because you know suffering a critical illness can be quite traumatic and it's basically going to take a toll on any one of us. All right. So we may choose to stop work or take no pay leave. And during that time, you lose your income. So this is designed to help you take care of your daily living expenses and maybe even consider alternative or additional options of medical treatments. Yeah, the number of disease covered by CI varies from company to company. Okay, and I'm sure you must have read last year in August 2020, LIA did a major kind of a realignment. So all the 37 critical illness that is offered, the definition was standardized, and this is meant to align and make it less confusing for consumers like you and me. Okay, but I don't think this will be the last time they would do any revision, because back in the last update was in 2014, and some critical illness, major ones were redefined, revised. And then also they lifted the cap. Previously was limited to 30 medical conditions. All right. So as medical advances move ahead, we can expect some more changes. All right, in the years to come. All right. Last bit, just want to cover Careshield Life very quickly. So this was something very new, introduced 1st October last year, and it's a compulsory coverage for all those born in 1980 or earlier. So the people who are aged 30 to 40 in 2020 were the first batch to be auto-enrolled into this universal long-term care plan. All right, and this replaces the Eldershield plan, which has been around for quite a while. So the enrollment age is now shifted, kind of shifted earlier from 40 to 30, and the payments has now also increased. Previously, Eldershield was for 72 months if you have the Eldershield 400 plan. Now it is changed into a lifetime benefit. All right. Of course, there's no free lunch. Premium then is payable up to 67 instead of 65 as previously. So overall, there's an increase in payout. Payout has increased from 4 to 600. And the 600 is just starting in 2020. And 2021, we expect a 2% increase if a person does make a claim in 2021. All right. So if you want to find out more about Careshield Life, you can go to the MOH website. There'll be plenty of information there. All right. Okay, so now we're going to move to the exciting part of answering your questions. I encourage you to post the questions online, and we will give priority to those who post them live. And I want to say, try and post the questions early and not towards the end. That's because we have got lots of questions already posted on Facebook that we're going to try and answer first. Another point I just want to highlight is that some of the questions that we have received so far seem to be overlapping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cluster them as one big question. I will read the question out, and then I'll try and be as concise as possible and address the concerns that you may have. All right, so I'm going to stop share screen, and then my colleague is going to start putting up the questions on Slido. And as he does that, I will look at the first question that has been posed earlier. All right, so let's take a look at one of the questions before I jump into Slido. So there was an earlier question, what is the guide or amount of buying enough critical illness? Both my parents have critical illness and I'm afraid for myself. So in terms of that, okay, for CI coverage, like I said earlier, you should consider it in terms of loss of income rather than hospitalization expenses, because most of hospitalization expenses can be covered by Medisave, your Medishield Life, or your integrated shield. So think in terms of how long you want to take in terms of a break to recover without having to worry about your income. Now, the important point that you need to note is based on LIA's survey, is that the average Singaporean only has about 60,000 in terms of critical illness coverage. Okay, and that's way below what they recommend. LIA's recommendation is about 316,000. Okay, and that's about 4 times of the average annual income of about 81,000. All right, so by and large, most people are undercovered in that sense. Okay, so first question I have here are, let me see. Sorry, let me, yeah, okay, good. All right, is it good for young people around 20 to pick up critical illness? Great question. So the thing with life insurance and most life insurance products is this. Insurance companies work their premiums basically based on the risk of an event taking place, correct? And of course, buying a CI at a younger age would be much cheaper than doing so at comparatively age 20 versus age 30. And most CI policies, the premiums are calculated based on entry age. However, please note that the premiums are not guaranteed and they can be subjected to increase as a whole when the claims experience of the insurer does get affected, and they will adjust this across the board. Yeah, I think the other big advantage of starting early mainly is because young people are usually in better health than as you get older. So if there's a slight change in health condition, for example, like high blood pressure, diabetes, and I know of even very young people in their 30s having a stroke, all these striking the very young ones in this day and age, that will render the person uninsurable. So I hope that answers the question. So there's of course the premium advantage, start early, cheaper, and then health is another major consideration. All right. What is the difference between disability insurance, total permanent disability, and long-term care. Wow, good question. Which is more important for a person at age 30? All right. So let me just help you understand what is total permanent disability first. So TPD, in short, is usually already pre-packed, okay, to whole life plans and IOP plans. So they come as a package. The thing with total permanent disability is such that it is a severe disability, and the definition of the total permanent disability is also very stringent. It has to be loss of sight in 2 eyes, or loss of use in 1 eye with 1 limb or 2 limbs, above the wrist or above the ankle. So as you can see, it is very stringent. On top of that, TPD also requires that the person cannot perform any form of occupation, which means the person cannot go and sit at the streets and sell tissue paper or photo tickets. All right, so that's how strict TPD is. Now, coming to the question of disability insurance or disability income, this has now become a bit more popular over the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years, as the population becomes more affluent and there's greater awareness. So the big difference in disability income is this. Disability income pays you an income, usually up to a maximum of 75 or 80%, depending on the company. So we'll never pay you 100% of your lost income, okay? But the beautiful thing about disability income, it is that it will start paying you in the event of, let's say it's an accident or illness, and then you cannot perform your own occupation, all right? So, but the thing is, with disability income, you need to be gainfully employed to buy disability income. So that's why disability income actually stops at age 65. Retirees cannot buy disability income, all right? So if you are not able to perform your own occupation, let's say you are a doctor, you are a surgeon, you cannot perform, you are no longer able to operate as a surgeon, but you can still function as a GP, yeah, then you can claim disability income, but not to the maximum of the 80%, maybe to a prorated amount that the insurance companies will work out with you. All right, long-term care is what we see in Careshield Life. So long-term care is very different. Long-term care would be things like your Eldershield, your Careshield Life, and they are going to take care of things like you are not unable to perform any 3 of the activities or daily living. Okay, so as you can see, it's a slightly different kettle of fish between the 3. So long-term care, we have it in the form of our national long-term care policy in Eldershield and Careshield Life, which has just been introduced. Which is more important for a person around 30? TPD is already there. Disability income, I suppose disability income, if you are working, you want to be covered for disability income. Long-term care like Careshield Life now, if you are age 30, auto-enroll, you are already on. So, and that's being paid out using your Medisave. Yeah, so I don't think you should be too worked out about how to figure out which is more important, because Careshield Life is compulsory at this point, okay, for everyone who's 30, born 1980 and earlier. Okay, should I get critical illness as a rider to a term policy or standalone? Also, is there a need to get early CI, intermediate, and late CI? Oh, okay, wow, okay, that's a whole lot. Okay, okay, the thing is, for critical illness, they can come as a rider or they can come as a standalone. So you got to understand how they work. If it's on a standalone basis, you have to ask how long do you want to be covered for critical illness? Is it up to age 65, 70, 75? If it's added to a whole life plan, or even a term life plan that goes up to say age 99, then it goes up all the way. So there's this question of whether the critical illness rider, is it an accelerated benefit or is it an additional benefit? All right, so this is something that you have to ask your planner. If it's an accelerated benefit, then simply an example would be like this. If I have a whole life plan of 100,000 and I have a critical illness rider of 100,000, the moment I claim the critical illness upon diagnosis, I'll be paid the 100,000 and the entire whole life plan collapses. Okay, so there's nothing balance left upon death. Okay, but if it's packed as an additional rider, then what happens is that if my CI is 100,000, my whole life is 100,000, and if it's an additional rider, then the CI will pay 100,000, and then upon death, the balance of the 100,000 will be paid. However, for most additional riders, there's a limit in terms of age. So it will not go up to age 100. It typically will go up to maybe age 65, 70, 75. So that varies from company to company. All right. On the question of early CI, intermediate CI, and late CI. Wow. Okay. So the thing is this. When critical illness first started, the regular CI plans out there that came about, I think in the early 90s. Okay, most of this CIs would basically pay at later stage. So if you have a older CI policy, you probably have those that won't pay at stage 1 or stage 0. Okay, so you have to consider that. The thing is, early CI only came about, I think, probably in the last 10 years, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So that was the point. Early CI was introduced by some insurance company. I won't mention their name. I believe it was P Company that was the first to come up with early CI. Okay. So the question to ask whether early CI, intermediate or late, if you are the type who is very health conscious and constantly going for annual health screening, then early CI may be an advantage, because if you are always going for health screening and that can be picked up by early detection, correct? Then you are more likely to be able to claim the early CI. All right, because there's no free lunch for any of this. Yeah, so the early CI is going to be a lot more expensive than the ones that are the late CIs. All right, so you have to strike a balance. Ask yourself, how much premiums are you willing to pay? What do you want to set aside? All right. Okay, let me go to the next question. Next. Okay, Medishield Life premiums has been increasing at an average of 5% per year since 2015. We see premiums that cost 12 times more in 50 years. Next question, general medical inflation has around 10% peak at 15 for the past couple of years, with premiums of integrated shield plans cost 120 times more in 50 years. Okay, let me say this. Medishield Life premiums has not increased since its inception in 2015. That is what the government promised. So I'm not too sure about the accuracy of this statement that it's been increasing at 5%. Okay, but it has recently been announced that under the Medishield Life Council's recommendation, that the government is going to adjust the premiums this year in 2021. Okay, to actually enhance the benefit, but of course, premium increase is usually due to the fact that the claims amount payout by whether it's the government through Medishield Life or through the integrated shield plans out there, the claims have been excessive. And whatever funds they've collected, they're probably not being able to cover, okay, the cost of the claims. All right, so they probably are forced to adjust this. So what I would just want to comment is that a good place to go and look for some answers. I was checking the web this afternoon as I was looking at some of these questions that were already sent ahead. Go to the MOH website, read what some of our MPs has posted to the Minister of Health on these issues of increasing Medishield Life premiums, and of course the IP plans, the premiums increasing. IP, the integrated shield plan premium increasing, actually that one is has been an issue since since the introduction of as-charged policies by this insurers out there, actually, to be honest, that as-charged policies have created a monster. All right, and this year they have put in place some changes to try and bring cost control into the overconsumption, especially in terms of private healthcare costs, which has basically kind of run away. All right, so if it continues to escalate, people like you and me who are still healthy are going to face the brunt of the problem. We're going to pay more and more premiums. Whereas the guys who have been sick and they already claim, there's nothing we can do, because they would have tried and max out the claims as much as possible through all the insurance that they have access to. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Is 500,000 claim IP plan enough for cancer and other public hospital surgeries? Be enough in 50 years? Should I opt for $1 million plan? Okay, good question. When I look at the number, something came to mind. The highest amount of claim I've heard so far in terms of a cancer claim, okay, and this came from ex-colleague of mine. I used to work for an insurance company. The highest amount that I've heard in 1 year was 700,000, and that hit the maximum cap of that policy year for the insurance policy, okay, for the integrated shield plan. And when it hit the maximum limit, the insurer just came back to the insurer and says, sorry, whatever claims that you're going to submit from this point onwards, we cannot pay until the next policy year when the 700 starts all over again. Okay, so if you ask me, if it's private hospital, I would say the sky is the limit. Okay, that's because all the advanced medical treatment and technologies out there, especially in the private healthcare sector, come with a big cost. Okay, and there is no real benchmark to say, oh, whether this is the suitable amount to pay or not. All right. So I would say if you are looking at private healthcare, then the sky is the limit. But if you are looking at public hospital, the cost controls comes under MOH. All right. So if you go to government restructured hospitals, whether it's B1 or A class, I think a decent plan of 500,000 to 700,000 should be more than enough in terms of annual claim limits. All right. Does it make sense to pay for H&S, Careshield premium, Eldershield premium entirely with cash and save up for Medishield balance for serious contingencies? Good idea, actually. If you look at your Medisave account, it pays 4%, correct? Versus your savings account, which pays maybe 0.25%, or your fixed deposit 1.2%. So I think it does make sense in some ways to use cash to pay for whether it's your Careshield Life, your Medishield Life, but I'm not too sure whether that's an option that you can take. So you have to check with CPF board. In the same vein, using the same idea, people have used their OA to pay for the housing installments, and some people opt to use cash because OA pays 2.5% and their savings account pays 0.25. All right, so it's that same mindset. So I wouldn't say it doesn't make sense. All right, yeah. So but the thing to bear in mind is that your Medisave balance has a maximum. So there is this maximum cap under the BHS basic health sum of 63,000 for this year if you are 65. And once you hit the cap, okay, basically what happened will be that your Medisave contribution will then be rechanneled into your special account if you are below 55, into your retirement account if you are above 55. All right, so that's something to consider. Of course, the downside is Medisave money cannot take out even when you retire at age 50. I mean, when you can draw down at age 55 or even at 65. Medisave balance will only be paid out when any one of us expire, we surrender our IC. So we'll go back to our beneficiaries. It's not something that we can see. All right, so it's something that you might want to think about. All right. Okay, let's scroll up. Is there a case for upgrading to private hospital plan higher 1.1 policy if one expects to seek care in public hospitals? Okay, good question. This is equivalent to like saying, okay, I can afford it now. I use my Medisave. I pay for the private hospital plan because it's not much. So it's like equivalent to buying a Mercedes, say S-Class or E-Class, and then turn around and say, oh, okay, but I don't want to go to private hospital. I want to go to public hospital A-Class, which is like a Mercedes C-Class. So my question is, what's the rationale? You know, so you are putting aside, although the Medisave money is not cash and something that you cannot take out and use, but it's still your money. Okay, so you are paying additional insurance premium for something that you are not using. So why do you want to pay for a Mercedes E-Class when you just want a C-Class? All right, so I would say it doesn't quite make sense. All right, especially when you get older. Yeah, because the integrated shield plans, the premiums are going to escalate once you hit about 65 and above. All right, so while you're young, okay, but bear in mind you're paying extra premium. Okay, is critical illness coverage ever relevant as a supplement to H&S coverage? I think that question I have kind of answered. Like I said, H&S is about hospital expenses. Critical illness coverage is about loss of income. The other question to ask is, besides loss of income, the critical illness lump sum can also provide you an option to seek treatment overseas, correct? Which is not going to be covered by your H&S, your Medishield Life, or your integrated shield plan. Or you maybe choose to seek alternative treatment, okay? Which all the costs are going to be yours to bear. Yeah, so the critical illness coverage, a big lump sum of say 100, 200,000 can afford you that flexibility. All right. Get critical illness on a standalone basis if it's a retiree, does not require insurance. How much coverage should he get? So in the same vein, I would say even for retirees, yeah, although you don't have loss of income to cover, you might want to ask, besides ongoing expenses in the hospitals and all that, are there other living expenses that I need to take care of? So if your retirement nest egg is adequate, let's say every month you have 2,000-3,000 from your CPF life, okay, or plus your other sources, then okay, probably you are in fairly good shape. But you know, critical illness can be very expensive. So I would suggest that, you know, the critical illness can be an option for other things. All right. Okay, let's move on. How will the supplementary Careshield Life scheme be affected by the rolling out of Careshield Life? Should I wait until Careshield Life is rolled out before deciding? Okay, or can the later decision be taken completely independent given what is known about Careshield Life? Okay. The Careshield Life supplements are already available via the three companies. They are no secret lah. So basically, Aviva, Great Eastern, and NTUC. Okay. All the information is on the MOH website. If you just log into MOH and type in Careshield Life supplements, you'll find all the information there. I would strongly you check out that website, compare the different companies. And then before you jump in, understand. So if you're not on the Careshield Life plan yet, understand what Careshield Life is all about, because that's the only way to help you decide which of the Careshield Life supplement is more suitable, right? How you want to tailor make that option, because three companies got more than three options. So it's a bit confusing, you ask me. So I would strongly suggest sit down, look at a website, compare the three companies first. After you've done your due diligence, then pick one company that you particularly like, and then call up the insurance company and ask for somebody to come and talk to you before you make a decision. So I don't think it can be made quite independently without consideration. So as a financial planner, I like to see the whole picture and all the evidence before I make my decision. That's how I function. Yeah. All right. So that is what I would strongly suggest. All right. Okay. Let's scroll up. Okay, I have an existing condition. Can I still be insured? Maybe pay higher premium, please advise. Okay, the thing is, I don't know what existing condition you have. Okay, so I can't really say yes or no. So if it's a pre-existing condition like cancer, kidney dialysis, then obviously the answer is no. Okay, but if you have an existing condition like me, maybe like coma, high cholesterol, mitral valve prolapse. Okay, these are long-term problems, not immediately life-threatening. The insurers can consider insuring you, but you have to apply to the different companies and see how they underwrite. So there is no model answer for this. And basically different companies exercise different underwriting rules with regards to conditions. So you might want to go shopping and ask around. A good source would be to ask people from maybe financial advisor reps, FA firms. They represent multiple companies, okay? So they will know which companies are probably more relaxed on certain conditions than other conditions because insurers differ from one another. Okay, likelihood, if you're an existing condition, definitely there will be a loading, which means higher premium. And the premium in loading can come usually nothing under 50%. So use 100%, 200%, 300%. On top of that, if the condition is a serious one. So for example, I'm mitral valve prolapse. If I apply for critical illness today, they will exclude any heart condition or heart-related conditions under the CI. Okay, so there'll be exclusion plus premium loading, depending on what you apply for. And especially hospitalization plans, those will be definitely totally excluded. All right. I have a CI plan. Do I still need early stage coverage? So I think I answered that previously. So look at it this way. Okay, CI is like your basic main course meal. Okay, and then your what's that? Your early critical illness is like dessert. Okay, and then your multiple care. Okay, some policies now pay multiple care, multiple pay on CI. It's like a second serving. So there are so many permutations out there. Really, it's a maze. Yeah. So you probably need to sit down with a good financial planner, one with lots of experience to help you navigate and come to some conclusion. This is a bit hard to kind of come here and ask for answers and then DIY. Okay, yeah, I must say that. All right. Corporate hospital plan. Okay, so corporate hospital plan. That is an interesting question. Versus private plan. Okay, so let me see. Which should I claim when I'm hospitalized? If I can claim from one, can I still claim from the other? Okay. In the past, if you have asked me this question, maybe like about 15, 20 years ago when I was still in the business doing a lot of corporate insurance, I would say claim the corporate insurance plan first. But with today's advancement of how all the integrated shield, Medishield plans are wired up with all the hospital, you probably want to go down the route of making a claim on your Medishield Life. If you have Income Shield, Pru Shield, Great Eastern, I don't know what shield is that. Yeah, any other of the shields, file a claim with those first. Okay, because all those are electronically linked and they are auto, and you get the claims processed very quickly. All right. Then when the claim is settled by whether Medishield Life or the integrated shield folks, you would have a summary of the claim. then present that bill to your corporate. So if you're under a company, we present that bill to HR, and HR can file that claim. Most likely, the corporate hospital plan would then cover you for the deductibles and the co-insurance. The last one you want to claim is your personal HS. Okay, because the personal HS, that means the hospitalization plan that you attach to your own whole life plan. Because those, when you claim, it's not that the premiums will increase drastically, but the more you claim, and if there's a substantial claim on a personal H&S, there is a chance in the future, because all these riders are non-guaranteed in terms of renewal, okay, that the insurance company can decide not to renew the rider or increase the premiums to a point where it is so atrocious that you give up. All right, so that would be my strategy, if you ask me. All right. Okay, at what age should one consider not having health insurance? A bit vague question. I don't know what you're trying to aim at. Health insurance is an absolute necessity, whether you are a newborn baby up to 100 years old, because we are all going to, in life, we are going to have sickness, illness, diseases as we go along. So we cannot predict. So I don't think I can say that, at 75, you don't need health insurance. If that's the case, then we won't have Medishield Life. We won't have the integrated shield plans being floated around. Yeah. All right. So many different IP plans. How to choose? Is there a standard plan? It's the best choice from affordability perspective. Wow, you ask a very tough question, very Python question. Okay, this is actually very, very confusing. The IP plans out there, there are so many different permutations. There are 6 insurers plus the Raffles Medical Group, the 7th one. And by and large, okay, they all have different patterns altogether. So I would say there's no sure way to give you a model answer. In fact, I've looked at it myself when I was teaching at Temasek Poly. I told my students to go and check it out to tear it apart. And still, we don't have a best answer, which is the best one. So I would suggest going to the MOH website, look at the comparison of the different integrated shield plans, then look at the benefits, the premiums, look at the service indicators, like how long they take to pay their claims, what's the claim process duration. Other things to do is to talk to people who may have plans from different companies and get an indication, all right, so that you have some kind of basis, okay. But I must warn you, if you have a pre-existing condition, then please don't go and switch and try shopping around to switch to a better plan. All right. So do your own due diligence, if I may say. All right. Okay. Affordability, best choice. Okay, let me say this up front. Don't just look at premiums. Okay, there will always be one company that is the cheapest between the 6 or 7 companies. Okay, each company has their own plus and minuses. Okay, don't go for the cheapest company, because the premiums on the IP plans are not guaranteed and they are subjected to increase anytime. All right. So you may pick the cheapest, and the guy who is the newest kid on the block has a tendency to offer the cheapest premium because he needs to be competitive. And then everybody look at the premium and go for it. And then, and unfortunately, that particular company happened to underwrite and accept all the sick cases. Okay, and then you happen to be one of the healthy ones. Okay. What will happen? The claims will start escalating. Okay, and these guys will all make their claims. And then you being healthy, what happened? Next thing you know, you get penalized by a big premium increase. All right, so don't look at premiums as a basis of comparison. It's not the best way to do this. All right, look at service standards, look at claim process, talk to people who are insured with this particular company, find out from them the experiences and all that. All right. Okay. Why is dental treatment not covered under health insurance? Good question. Okay. You know, in the US, dental insurance is not part of the mainstream health insurance coverage. Okay, in the US. So what does that tell you? The more benefits you want to add on, the more the premiums are going to have to increase. Okay, so we can, of course, we can throw in dental treatment in there. Okay, the government can make a policy to include. But once you include that, it means that the health insurance premiums are going to increase. Okay, same thing. The private health insurance plans here, the what we call the super Rolls Royce class kind of insurance policies out there, where expatriate buys them like about $1,000 over a month, that kind of things. Yeah, they cover you from head to toe. They cover dental, they cover your eyes if you need spectacles, contact lenses, and every other thing that you can think of under the sun. Okay, but it comes with a premium. So there's no free lunch. The moment you want some of these benefits to be included, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to pay the premiums? Okay, and incidentally, I was reading why in the US they don't cover dental treatment under the health insurance. That's because when they first started, dentists all started in barber shops. They were not really doctors. Okay, so you go sit in a barber shop and you get your teeth yanked out by the barber who cuts your hair. Okay, so to some extent, you know, that's why they have never included it in the health insurance plans. That's the argument that they have. All right. Okay, let me see. Can you tell me how to maximize use of Medisave for healthcare? Until age 60, basically, I cannot really use that money, the money. Wow, cheap question. How to maximize use of Medisave for healthcare? Frankly, I don't know really how to answer that question. Like I said earlier, if you are age 60, if I'm wrong, 65 and above, you can make use of Medisave for some even outpatient treatments and all that. But as to how to maximize, there's no, because under the Medishield rules, there are caps on various usage in terms of Medisave that you can use. So for example, if you're hospitalized, each day you can draw down from your Medisave, regardless of which ward you stay, $400, no more than that. Okay. And then certain outpatient, yeah, they allow you up to, I think, $250 if you're age 65 for outpatient treatment. So there is a really a natural cap in that. So I can't really tell you how to maximize. And anyway, your Medisave money pays you 4%. So it's very good interest. It's just that, like I said earlier, most of us, all of us, in fact, not most of us, are never going to see our Medisave money. The balance of that money is going to go to our beneficiaries when we expire. Yeah, so whoever you're nominated in your beneficiary, they will get the money in your Medisave account if there's any balance. All right. What are insurance plans available for pregnant mother? Are standard hospital plans like Medishield good enough? Okay. All right. The thing with pregnancy coverage, it's a bit more complicated. Okay, so in Singapore, there are now two types of maternity benefits out there. There's one that's offered by all these general insurance companies, not life insurance, general insurance companies that are pure maternity benefit cover. They cover you for the hospitalization costs related to pregnancy, okay? And some of these actually can be fairly costly, and they also have quite a bit of what we call deductible and co-insurance. All right. The more popular ones are now the ones being marketed by life insurance companies. And they typically attach them either as a rider or they can be a standalone benefit, okay, for maternity care. But the thing to note is to check with the insurer. If I remember correctly, most of this maternity benefits insurance that's marketed bundled as life insurance with a life insurance plan or standalone, they don't exactly cover the hospitalization expenses. Okay, so what they do cover, ranging from a minimum sum of 5,000 to 30,000, depending on the insurers. They cover for things like, from the 13th week of pregnancy onward, if there's a pregnancy complication or congenital illnesses and stuff like that. Okay, so they are not going to pay for all your hospital bills versus the first category that I mentioned. So if you're interested, you should talk to your life insurance advisor, rep, or whoever, and ask them how does this exactly work. All right, so it's in that fashion that is packaged lah. Yeah, so I hope it answers your question. Standard hospital plan like Medishield, good enough. Okay, your Medishield, let me see. Does Medishield cover pregnancy? Okay, I should think so because it's hospitalization. But then there would also be the minimum of the deductible and co-insurance that you have to look at. Yeah. Yeah, I think, okay, for Medishield is probably covering complications only. Okay. Yeah, so the only fallback is your Medisave. So same thing again, Medisave has its limit, $400 a day. And then there's a limit for natural delivery, cesarean, and all that kind of things. Yeah. So you probably can use your Medisave to cover. All right. And like I said, the maternity plans for all these standalone can be quite expensive. All right. It's important to get insurance for my newborn. Okay. My take is this, as previously I mentioned, if you're thinking of buying insurance for your kids, make sure that you yourself are adequately covered. Okay. Cover the goose first. Don't go and cover the golden egg. Okay. Once you are adequately covered and you've got spare cash, okay, then think about buying life insurance for your child. So any newborn in Singapore already automatically covered for Medishield Life. You can put them on integrated shield. Okay. If you are thinking of critical illness, yeah, you can start them on a critical illness policy. It'll probably be very cheap. And advantages is that they start at age 0 or age 1, depending on how they calculate the premiums. And more likely than not, most newborn, if they are without any health complication, they'll be in the best of health, and it'll be easily underwritten and approved. Okay. As kids go older, from my own experience, I've got 4 kids. One of my kids didn't even develop asthma. She had an asthmatic cough. And next thing was, I tried and applied for a critical illness policy for her, and there was already exclusion. Okay, so like even hospitalization, she was excluded for all respiratory condition. All right. Okay, it's now almost 8:25. Okay, I'm going to try and answer the last 2 questions. Okay. Why do people buy so many CI plans for to cash out on all once you get a CI? Yeah. Okay, so if you have multiple CI plans, yeah, you can make the claim over across the board, the different ones. But of course, it all depends on how your CI plans are structured. So I'm not too sure when you say many CI plans, what do you mean? So if you have a CI plan with A company, your CI plan with N company, a CI plan with G company, of course, you can make the multiple claims for the same illnesses. All right. But CI, remember, there's a survival period for CI. usually I think the survival period is something like, if I'm not wrong, 30 days. I don't remember exactly the numbers, but there's a survival period. Okay, so that means you must survive the illness. So if a person has a heart attack and die, or has a stroke and straight away die, then the CI benefit will not pay out. Okay, let me answer the last question. Son undergo religious circumcision, result in complication. My agent say may not be able to claim because it's elective procedure. Then why buy insurance? Okay, circumcision, yeah, for religious reasons is not covered. Okay, but if it resulted in some form of complication, I suppose you can claim, you can file the claim and see whether the insurance company will pay on a goodwill or not. Okay, but if the circumcision was done for hygiene reasons because there's an infection, okay, then the claim is payable. All right, so there are just some things that the insurance plans were not covered, and these are all spelled out in the contract. All right, so when you buy insurance plans, we always tell people, buy with your eyes open, read the contractual agreement, and ask all the right questions. Okay, so actually it's important to have your agent kind of visit the policies and explain all the conditions. All right, so now it's 8:26. We will now close our questions and go back to our slides, and then we'll wrap this up. All right, so if there are still questions that were not answered, I think there were 1 or 2 questions, please feel free to email them to us at ifl@spe.sg or leave us a message, okay, at www.ifl.org.sg. All right, so before we go, we just want to ask for your help. We hope it has been really useful, all the questions that we managed to answer. Can you help us scan the QR code you're seeing on the screen and go to our e-evaluation site to help us answer some questions? This is really useful and important to us because this will give us the necessary feedback on what we've done well, what can we improve on, and maybe some suggestions that you may have, or even topics that you may be interested in. All right, so before we go, just very quickly for the next segment on the 21st of April, also on Wednesday at 7:30, a dear friend of mine is going to come on, and he's going to be the host for this next talk on legacy and future plans. What do you need to do? So join us on the 21st of April on Wednesday at 7:30. So signing off. So we'll see you next time.
Your life.
Hong Yue, please.